Step it up. All right, hey. All right, welcome to the FINfluental, your voice of reason in financial education, financial empowerment, and spreading economic and financial freedom to the whole wide world through one listener, one subscriber, one viewer at a time. And today I bring to you the one and only Sammy Rabbit, or his proper name is Sammy X Renick. From the City of Angels. How's it going over there?
Hey, Marcus, thank you. Thank you for having me to talk about, one of my favorite, or two of my favorite subjects, financial literacy and Sammy Rabbit. It is going beautifully here in Los Angeles, or at least as beautifully as it can be. How are things there in Dubai?
Yeah, Dubai, it's, the temperature's getting better, but right now, a lot of exciting things are happening here in Dubai. We're getting a lot of tourists coming in, and I believe in the month of October, they got this thing called Expo 2020. So basically, it's this 6-month celebration where countries all around the world, they have their exhibition kind of stuff. So yeah, looking forward to have a lot of tourists. Unfortunately, we're going to have a lot of crazy traffic, no different than LA, but we're catching up. We are catching up. So, but yeah, so that's what's happening in Dubai. But the temperature is getting better. So usually from October onwards, it's going to be like LA actually. Beautiful weather and that kind of deal. So not too hot, not too humid. So yeah, it's
excellent.
Yeah, but hey, one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on my podcast, The FINfluental, is you got a long history when it comes to financial education. You've been in this amazing journey for such a long time. I mean, this is almost, correct me if I'm wrong, it's over like 20 years or maybe more, or...
That's correct. I started back officially in 2001.
Wow.
I was doing preparation prior to that, back maybe 98, 97, something like that, leading to the launch of Sammy Rabbit. And Sammy Rabbit is our main vehicle, our character for delivering what I like to describe as early age and family financial literacy. Our thought is first, one of our assumptions is kids are learning machines. So from the moment they're born, maybe even the womb, they're learning all the time. They're taking in information through their ears and through their eyes. And our thought is you need to start putting some of that information related to money into their mindset. It's happening anyways, but you want to do it with intention. You just start with simple things, and then you start layering and building. Education is a process. It should be lifelong, in our opinion, cradle to grave. So it's almost like a video game. There's different levels, but you want to get that early start. If you think of kids, it's not only their thinking, but it's their feelings, their attitudes, their habits towards money. You want to start inputting your values, your thinking related to those items in their heads, and taking control of it, shaping all of that. That is going on anyways. The big issue is who's going to be doing the shaping. Is it going to be you as a parent, or is it going to be some outside influencer? And when I say you as a parent, I mean you as a parent consciously, because you're doing that anyways, all right? But it's largely unconscious. So take shape of it early, and now there's some research that's out there that indicates adult money habits. Adult money habits are pretty much set by the age of 7, 8 years old. That's pretty staggering.
Wow.
So it just makes it more crucial to get in there and put your thinking, your values, your feelings into kids' minds. Now, don't expect that they're going to be able to articulate a lot, but expect that it's going to be having some kind of an impact on them on again their feelings, their attitudes, their habits, and maybe eventually then that comes out in their thinking. It turns out there are other studies that reflect that a large percentage of people make financial decisions not based on thinking, not based on reasoning, as you shared earlier, but based on feelings and attitudes. More thinking would probably produce better results, but you want to affect all of those areas. So, a question sometimes I get is like when you're dealing with real little kids, maybe age 1, age 2, age 3, what do you do? Well, one thing you can do is you can start creating short sentences that reflect what, say, your values are around what I would call the fundamental foundational issues, like saving money is one of them. So you might say, my last name is Rennick. So you might say your little kid is in their baby chair, and you might get, the Rennicks, that's us. We love to save. And then maybe you drop a penny into maybe a drinking cup that's transparent that they can see, and you rattle it, and you go, okay.
Oh, okay.
And so you bring a joy, and they hear and see the joy, and now you're associating it with the word. And it's just like planting a seed. Maybe nothing will come of that, or maybe something will. And you'll know somewhere around 3 or 4 years old, this is kind of how you know something is happening, even though you can't say it, because they're going to come to you and they're going to say, Daddy, Mommy, I want this. I want that.
Right.
Okay. So the fact that they're wanting something has been leading up to that. And that could be you talking about what you want. It could be your partner talking about that. It could be other family members. It could be what they see on television, on the computer, whatever it is. That's kind of shaping their thinking and their feelings, building up to this kind of, I want, when it's related to money. That's typically, how it expresses itself initially in the gimmies or the wants, however you want to describe it.
Yeah.
So you just keep, it doesn't have to be long. A little bit every day, consistently. You're in the best position to assess your children. So when you think that they need a little more information, then you give them a little more information. And me, I'm big. I like kind of the learn by doing. So when they're ready, have them participate. So say if you're using that example I gave you, where you're dropping a penny or a nickel, we're in the U.S., so we use pennies and nickels and that stuff, and you're shaking them up. When they're ready, have them drop it in, okay? So now they're participating. And then here, and I think this is true all over the world, often kids may have piggy banks or savings jars or whatever the local custom or culture is. I remember talking to somebody, they were over in the Middle East, and they had clay pottery type things, very colorful, very exciting. So whatever it is. I don't know. Did you have a savings bank or a piggy bank when you were growing up, Marcus?
Actually, I did. It's not made of clay. It's proper plastic, made in China. It's a fancy one. I remember. I'm not sure whether I got it from KFC or Kellogg's, but it looked like a plastic house. You put a coin in, it has the sound, like a song, So it did, yeah. I had one of those. I remember my brother, he had a typical, like a pink little pig, I know it's kind of like a very typical little piggy bank you find in a Monopoly game, something like that, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, cool. I mean, look at your face light up thinking about those memories.
Yeah.
These are the types of memories and associations I think you want to cultivate for your children. Okay, so they have a positive outlook towards money and the management of money, the stewardship, however you want to describe it. But money, even if you have a lot of money, it's still a very limited resource. You want to bring thoughtfulness to how you use limited resources, whether it's your time, it's your money, it's water, whatever it is. And look, this is the recipe. I like food, so I like recipe analogies.
Oh, and hey,
Is that
we all love food.
we all love food. So look, the better, this is the recipe, and it's very simple. It's not rocket science. The better you take care of your money, the better choices you make, the better you're going to do, the more financial wellness, the more financial capability, the more financial security, the more financial stability, the more financial freedom you're going to have. Now with Sammy the Rabbit, in addition to starting the process early, we're also very big on the idea of let's help kids or adults as well. And let me tell you, when you're helping kids, you're helping adults as
True.
Quite frequently. But let's focus on habit formation. And so habits, they're routines, they're patterns, they're also recipes. These things that we do over and over, they build and they grow. The habits are very powerful, either for the positive or the negative. But when we get things on autopilot, which is what habits are, things become more time efficient, they become more energy efficient, and they become more a part of who you are. So if you read every day, I tell kids this all the time, 10 to 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you like, but let's just say 10 or 15 minutes, you can expect that your brain or your mind, it's going to grow. Habits are very predictable. If you exercise every day, your health is going to improve. We know that when we choose our habits, that's part of what's powerful. If we eat poorly, we can predict we're going to have health issues. And so it's the same thing with your financial choices. And we one of the behaviors that we emphasize strongly for children in particular, it's for adults as well, but as a first behavior is get kids learning to save. Get kids in the habit of saving their money. It's something that they can do and participate in. And saving, when you really think about it deeply, it has a lot of enormous benefits beyond building financial wellness, okay? It teaches children to delay gratification. Yeah. It instills discipline. Okay, let me say, delayed gratification to me is maybe the biggest benefit of learning to save as a child. That's a skill that's going to help you in every aspect of life. It's going to help you have more success no matter what you do. It's one of those core key skills. It helps you with setting goals. When you save money, it gives you time to think about your spending choices. And almost all wealth and financial freedom is really built around starting with a saving habit that maybe then transfers into a smart spending habit. It transfers into an investing habit. So it's a very core foundational behavior.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought the topic about saving, and another point. One is delayed gratification. So that is that's not something that you hear quite a lot. I guess for youngsters and all, because especially I guess in this day and age, even before too. With media, with society, social, whatever it is, we get bombarded with, ads and peer pressure and, try to keep up with the Jones kind of deal. So, which is everywhere. Yes, it's not an American thing. It's a worldwide thing, so, it's just that over here we have different values, but we do save, but we end up spending on a lot of other things that doesn't really give back to you, so, and I think as a kid, I think that is, definitely, for kids, even also here too, that's been a challenge, so, learning to save, does, develop those strong principles within yourself. And it does translate later on in the adult life too. So I think it's also fascinating when you brought up some of the other stats too. It's actually quite eye-opening, how early you actually need to start. Really, I think that's. That to me, that I'm just curious to know, I mean, how did you find out about it? And to me, that I'm sure that must have kind of like, shocked you or something. I don't know. Like, I mean, for me, it is.
I'll say it is and it isn't. Okay, so I've been at this a long time. When I first started, this is kind of my third career, my first entrepreneurial venture. I started in large, with a Fortune 500 company in technology. I was on the business side. I'm not really very technological, but they were developing new ideas. They were pushing this, what the people would call the state of the art. And so we were in a development environment. I learned a lot about the recipe for how you develop. How do you take new ideas out of your head and turn them into real things? So for about 12 years, I was part of teams that were doing that. And so I was just absorbing information and knowledge about that. Then I left that career. I went into financial services. Now, let me just say before I get into financial services, the whole time I was with this Fortune 500 company for 12 years, I was putting about a third of what I made away into saving and investment programs. I had made a habit. This is our sign for a habit. Okay. Something you do over and over again. Okay, so it was building and building and building. Okay, that's predictable. So I was doing something people call pay yourself first. I was spending less than I earn. All right, so that is a key ingredient in a winning financial recipe.
All right, yeah, amen to that.
Yeah. Okay, so it's very predictable. Now you don't know how much maybe you're going to have. Part of that's going to be determined by your rate of return, but you do know that if over extended periods of time, if you're earning money and receiving money here, and you're spending it here, that difference is going to grow.
True. Okay? Yeah.
And that. Okay. So that and that's what we tell kids: money coming in here, money going out here. That is a winning recipe.
Yeah.
All right? and so that's a foundation, just like you're building a house, that you can build a first floor, a second floor, a third floor. You can build tall buildings on a solid foundation like that. So I did that for 12 years. Then I went into financial services. I mostly did not like financial services. Right? for a whole variety of reasons. Yeah. But there were a few things I did like. I liked talking to other people about what they were doing with their money. And for me, it turned out to almost be like a research project. I was finding out, oh my goodness, everybody, their money coming in is here, but their spending is here. And that was staggering. I didn't know that. So now I'm discovering and finding that out. And then one day somebody came in during a training session and started talking to us about helping kids save for college. And that just got me thinking, like, why did I start saving and investing right when I started my first professional job? All these other people, a lot of them, 8 or 9 out of 10, they were not doing that. I started doing that. And I started reflecting on that. Well, my father, it seems like from the moment I was born, but maybe around 4 or 5 years old, he would talk to us about money. And one of the things, this is still in my head, and we didn't have a lot of money. We were technically, we lived at the poverty level, but I describe it as upper poverty.
Okay, all right, yeah, I get you, yeah.
Yeah, well, what I mean is like, we always had something to eat. It was basic, okay? So we didn't miss any meals. We weren't eating any steak, but we had our basic food. Yeah. And then I always had clothes. Usually it was my brother's clothes. I didn't have any new clothes. Okay, and then we had a place to sleep. So we had a roof over our head, but we didn't have any discretionary income. So if I wanted a soda, usually I wasn't going to get a soda, maybe once every 6 months or once a year. But what my dad used to tell me all the time, and he would tell us a lot of things, but one of his like core philosophies was like, Sam, you can have anything you want if you're willing to work for it. Okay. And so for whatever reason, that was very hopeful for me now. And this was kind of funny. I didn't really think about this till I was older, but like sometimes we would go and wash our aunt's cars, automobiles, and they'd pay us back in the day maybe $2 or something like that. Oh, my dad, he would find money for soap. He would be out there helping us wash the cars.
Nice,
Okay?
nice.
So he'd find a little bit of, he could find, okay, so, and that was like, boy, that was one of his messages almost throughout his whole life. It still is in my head, okay? And so I picked up that earning ethic, and so that was very helpful. And then he had other lessons that he shared with us. It turned out I was lucky in that he seemed to know a lot about what I'll call basic strategies about money that have proven to be on target. Okay, over my life now, I've seen most of what he shared with us was on target. Some of it wasn't, but that everybody's faced with that. What's really concerning is a lot of kids are not getting good financial basic. I'm just talking basic. I'm not talking Bitcoin. I know you're
Yeah. I get you.
And different things, but just basic, like, oh, you should save some of your money. That's a good idea. That's a path that can elevate you. So he was good on that. I picked up on some of it and put it into practice. But when that guy started talking about the kids and money, that's kind of got me about thinking about, how do you try and be more purposeful to point kids in that direction? And that's kind of what started inspiring me, thinking, what I do like education is what I was telling myself. I'm not necessarily about this. I think financial management is important, but besides selling financial services, maybe there's a different path. And so that I started exploring that. And I guess I was either crazy enough or whatever to say, let me see if I can, develop. In the beginning, I just tried to develop a storybook. I created this character, Sammy the Rabbit, with the help of other people. I didn't draw the character. I do write the words and stuff like that. But then it just started kind of growing from there. But that's kind of how I got started in this. And then I found out, if somebody asked me well, what is your purpose in life? I think this is my purpose because I get so much not necessarily money. We're not making any money.
I get, yeah.
We make it's kind of, when you look at it from a business standpoint, I think you can make money, but that's a whole different challenge, which we're trying to still figure out. But from the education empowerment standpoint, it just brings me tremendous satisfaction, gratification, knowing that I'm planting seeds and nurturing them in some cases, and then helping other people. Now we're more focused on helping teachers and trainers to go in and teach young kids or to teach families, start planting these seeds that are going to help empower people, make them more individually capable, and make them even, I'm a big believer in start with yourself. Once you have yourself sustainable, then start helping other people, maybe within your own family, work out, and so that's that.
Okay. But just to comment on, spreading the message of financial education. I do believe that, that I think its moment is going to come because, it's just my personal belief. There are opportunities in terms of business, but, I believe it's a matter of time, it'll have to hit critical mass. There's going to be a need, and the need for financial education, I don't think it's going to come from, the traditional schools or whatever, or the traditional finance space. I think it's going to come from the conscious individuals like yourself, like Sheila, Jedediah Collins, or many other people from, on a grassroots level who are going to, challenge the unconscious collective problems that we face right now. So that's what I believe. And I think a lot of people are looking for answers. It's just a matter of time, definitely I think there is an incredible need for financial education for kids, because honestly, I don't think a lot of parents really think about that. They kind of do, but I think once you show a book of Sammy the Rabbit, then it's bang, it's is going to kick in. So like, and especially like, I have been in the States, what do you say, like for my bachelor's and my master's. I've been there for 10 years, so I have seen like, what do you say, the financial disparity. I'm just like, wow, that's crazy. I've been to LA, I lived in Texas, I've been to Florida, and there's this kind of like uh, I know, but I know it's the right word, like a theme or something. But I have talked to some of my track friends, and they haven't got much financial education. And these guys, some of my friends were in credit card debts and a lot of student loans and stuff. So, now when I think about it, like I'm grateful. Like my family has taught me basic financial education stuff, but it just kind of, for me, blew my mind, just like you. I think when you got out of I guess corporate America into financial services, you were saving money, but I started realizing, wait a minute, not many people do, or they're spending way above their means. Like I can say if they're spending for like business stuff, I can get it. But this was like, I was in college, so, everyone is trying to be a baller and, impress people who they don't like. I'm like, you need to ease on the card, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that blew my mind. I'm just like, so, I'm sure you have you have met, a lot of people, like, so I'm sure you got some maybe interesting stories or funny stories. I know, like.
Share two things. One, just going back to your prior question. So look, that's how it started for me in terms of the financial education. And then once I started getting into it, that's when I started learning more related to the studies and research, and also connecting with other people and finding out what they were doing. But it started with my own journey. And I just thought, very simply, I don't think I'm that unique. I'm thinking that if this education that my father gave me as a kid, if it had an impact on me, it could happen the same way for other kids. Now, it's not guaranteed. I took it one way. My brothers and sisters took it differently. But what I do think is I think you're better off having that guidance than not having it. Okay. Yeah. And then you make your own choices. You want to know, say, if I want to go to Dubai, it would be helpful for me to have a map. Okay. And then I can start saying, am I going to fly there? Am I going to take a boat? Am I going to walk part ways, take a bicycle, start figuring out the strategies on how to get there? But having a map and the right information, that's the right recipe, that's going to be helpful. Right? Yeah. And so it's, as you said, so you're born into, you're born wherever you're born. That's kind of like where you start the game. And what's fascinating to me is, and I think this is particularly true in the United States, I think it's becoming more true everywhere around the world, but in the United States, it doesn't matter. I mean, to some extent, regardless of where you're born, there's a recipe to move to a higher level. Okay. Now, It isn't easy, but recipes exist. Now, what I don't find, and this is what's a little bit saddening to me, is often, say, when you're starting at let's say there's 5 levels to the game. And if you're starting at level 1, which is the lowest level, a lot of times at level 1, the questions that are being asked are not necessarily the best questions. Like, does somebody have the recipe to get to level 2? That might be a good question. Okay. Instead, there's a lot of narratives that are like, this is terrible, this is awful. And, sure, to some extent it is, okay? But there's also there's thinking, for example, like, there's a saying I really like, necessity is the mother of invention. And so for some people, I found this to be largely true. I don't know that it's 100% true. But say if you're starting off at a lower, I'm going to just say economic level, you can use that energy, that like necessity, if you channel it, to motivate you to move to the next level and make make the hard choices. So here, this might be a hard choice. There's a book, we have a program called the All-Star Reading Program, where we encourage community leaders from all over the world to read children's stories that communicate some kind of a financial point. And somebody just read the book, Those Shoes. And so it was about a young kid who wanted the great pair of tennis shoes.
Oh, okay. Love it, yeah.
So look, that's a normal pressure, okay, at every economic level. But if you're at a lower economic level, which in this story this kid he was very fortunate because his grandmother helped him to really think it through and resist that urge. The urge is natural. He saw his friends had it, everybody had it, he liked it, he wanted it. Okay, now you need to this is a hard choice. Okay, maybe they could figure out how to get it, or what she helped them do was weigh out, what are your other choices and what's going to help you over the long run. It was kind of like about delayed gratification. It had a lot of principles there. And anyways, it's a great, so look, whatever choice you make, that's the choice you make. But these choices have pros and cons. And say at the essence of economics is this: the fewer resources that you have, the more consequential those choices are.
Yeah.
So it's not a right or wrong or fair or not fair thing. It's just that's a reality. Okay. So if you start, maybe if you have to make that choice 10 times, maybe one time you do something to reward yourself, and maybe 9 times you get a book or you get something that's going to elevate your situation. The question for you is what do you really want more? Okay. And with kids, we have to obviously train them because look, they want all these things right now. And this, as you mentioned earlier, that I call these the outside forces. Those forces, if you look at it like waves in the ocean, they're getting stronger because of social media and all this. You got to have it like in 4 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. But our job is to really try and train, especially parents, but also responsible community leaders, is try and provide children the parenting, the instruction, the education that will help them over the long haul have more long-term success. And so if you can master that delayed gratification, look, that's going to help you in all different areas. So I don't often see, as often as I would like saying, hey, look, you know what? It is hard, but Marcus got out of this situation. How did he do it? What was his recipe?
Gotcha. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Let's find the recipe.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
And then let's see if I can do it, maybe you can do it. Okay. Now look, it isn't easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's 1,000 times harder if you don't have the recipe. And so that's where the education part is really important. I don't have illusions. Like if you ask people, is exercise like walking important? 99% of the people know it is, but they don't do it. So But I do think here's what's different about money is maybe 50% of the people know that saving is important. Now, kids, it might be only 10 or 20%. Okay. So it's not quite as pronounced as say like exercise, but you need to know that first. Then one thing I'll say about Nike, and they've got good and bad things, but I think then you want to do what they say, just do it. Okay.
Yeah, I know, right?
Start. That's something. I don't know if you just want to start spending, but saving, yes, you want to just do that.
True. Yeah. That's a good marketing ploy from Nike, right?
It's very genius. And even see kids, they don't have to save everything. Just to me, this is where you go back to the habit. You want to start conditioning them when they receive money or they earn money. When they receive it or earn it, they take a portion of it and they start. Some of that's for saving, okay, for the future you, as people like to say, right? now that might be for kids, that might be for the future you in 2 days, a week, 2 weeks, or maybe all year. You just keep, it's a process. You just keep building a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. And maybe you've seen these charts. I find them really interesting, like about, if you just try and improve 1% a day or 1/10 of a day over a year, you're going to have like 100% improvement. And that now just think, if you do that for 10 years, that's how you move from level 1 of the game to level 2 or level 4.
Yeah, true, yeah.
Or you can move from level 4 to level 10. Okay.
Yeah.
And let me just say, sometimes those people starting at level 10, they move down to level 1.
Yeah, it happens. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, we hear the stories a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not. See, that's another thing. It's only a real advantage, say, to start at level 10 if you're able to sustain it. Not everybody is, because when you start at level 10, a lot of times, say, as a kid, you don't understand what it took to get to level 10. So you don't necessarily manage it the same way.
True.
And maybe there's the key is not that you always manage it the same way, but you manage it in a smart and informed way.
Gotcha.
And so well, things are changing. Like, for me, I know when I think of you, I think a lot of crypto and Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right now I'm in like preschool related to Bitcoin, but or crypto, but I'm categorizing it and say into two different categories. There's the trading, which I'm not that interested in, but what I'm very interested in is this very well could be the future of currency.
Right.
Okay. So instead of paper money and coins, it's going to be. I think there's probably a good chance that that's what's going to be happening. You're more at the forefront on it than I am, and so this is probably the future for kids. Now, I think, look, the basics. What I think are the basics, like saving, spending smart, investing, they're going to be the same.
Right.
But the way we conceptualize it through Bitcoin or whatever it is it may be very different. It's very exciting. This is like, people used to trade seashells and things of that, and then eventually we went into minted coins and bills.
Right.
And okay, man, we're at a turning point, man. It's happening.
Yeah. I mean, it is exciting times, though. It is. I mean, because right now, you're seeing this 3 revolutions are taking place: the revolution of money, the revolution of information, then you got the revolution of the internet. Just it's kind of like a trifecta. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm just like, it is fascinating. And I think, for me, when people found out I'm into Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and talk about blockchain, a lot of people started to, have skepticism, which they rightly so. It's a new thing, new technology, it can go up, it can also bust, who knows, but it started, it gave me an opportunity to talk about the history of money, talk about the U.S. Federal Reserve. I mean, there's a lot of, stories we can talk about it, but I have the opportunity to talk about the history of money, not from the U.S. perspective, but internationally, historically, like 5,000 years of historical money. So, when you talk about seashells, you talk about the sticks from the UK, then you talk about, banknotes from China, and also the value of your money now. And then, suddenly people are just talking to me about, monopoly money, talking about inflation, all these things. It is slowly, like I said, that's what I always keep, just to bring the previous point, I think financial education, that concept, that it's this great idea. It's time, it's coming, so, I think, I don't know how it's going to happen, but, I think the timing is happening now. And
it is happening. Okay, that's what I was going to say. You just said, I'm glad you said it. At least in the 20 years I've been in it is happening right now. So we're in that process of what you're describing this, at least in the 20 years I've been in it, this is the most exciting period related to financial education, financial literacy. I think, it has to do with what you called that trifecta, the fintech movement, the internet. All of these forces are happening and there's all these new companies that are arising that is bringing more attention and awareness to how important this is. Now, I will say this, okay? Even though all that's happening, I do think there's going to be progress, but I don't know that it's going to be this progress that everybody's like talks about or hopes about. To me, that's a fantasy, because when you start looking at human behavior, the history of human behavior, if you go back 200 years ago, maybe a little bit more than that, 250 years ago, one of my, say, financial heroes is Benjamin Franklin. And so this is before the internet and television and everything. And one of the things he's talking about is the same thing we're talking about right now. He says, I can't believe what people are using their money for. It's like, it just doesn't make sense. It makes sense to me. Then if you go back, and I think this is true probably of all what I would call religious dogmas or human stories. I'm going to just use the Bible, but it might be the Torah, it might be another version. But there were 10 commandments, right? These are the big 10 things, right? And one of them has to do, and you brought this term up, it had to do with coveting your neighbor's goods, keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm thinking is, that must have been a problem then.
Yeah.
Okay. and it was such a big problem. It's not like a chapter way somewhere in the Bible. It's like, this is one of the 10. This is one of the 10 things you got to watch out for. That's a recipe that is going to either bring you down or keep you down. Focus on who you are, where you are, what you want. Okay, the more a person can get in tune with what it is they want, and when I say want, I mean what they really want for the long term, the better your chance of getting it, because now you can focus your time, your energy, your attention on that goal, whatever it is. Maybe it's one day owning a house. Maybe it's going to school without debt. Maybe it's being able to go on vacation. Maybe it's being, whatever it is. If you're focused on it, you're not guaranteed. You just have a better chance. You have a better chance, and that's what you want to give yourself, a better chance. And let me just say, I think if you're focused on something you want, there's probably going to become the journey. I think is so important. I think you're going to have a lot more satisfaction, gratification. We're all in some kind of a struggle. Even Bill Gates, okay, his dreams are just bigger. Okay, that's all. But he probably, to do everything that he wants to do, he probably doesn't have enough money. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
He has enough money for. Okay, so see that's kind of what happens. See, that's very predictable. If you're doing, say, good management of your resources, you're probably going to get more resources. See, I don't find it really that mind-boggling, say that there are these gaps, okay? Especially when you measure them over, let's say, 20, 30, or 50-year time frames. Like, you could take a person, like I'm 60 now, so for at least 40 years, I've been managing financial resources. So you could say, oh, you're a good manager, a bad manager. It's not like 1 year or 2 years and something bad happened or whatever. It's over a 40-year period, all right?
Yeah.
But you can start looking at trends, like in 3 years, 5. Oh, wait a minute, this foundation. I got to ask you a question. Okay, what you're doing is interesting. Spending here, even though you're earning here. Can you show me some models or examples of people who have had success, long-term sustained success doing that?
Yeah,
okay. There are really aren't.
Right.
Okay, so if you want to keep doing that formula, that's okay with me, I guess. But just know it isn't going to really get you what it is. And you may not know today, but probably at some time, say, maybe you are going to want a house, or you're going to want more security or more freedom or more choices or whatever it is. We're all pretty similar in that way. It might be a little bit different,
Sure,
okay?
true.
But in general, people aren't as unique. There's a lot of common things. Like most people, they want to have a certain amount of safety and security, and even what I would call order, because order is what helps us grow and advance.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, that's. I mean, but you have to have some tension, disruption. That also helps us, bring new things. Like technology is great at that. So, anyways, just a few thoughts there. But yeah, financial to me, it doesn't matter whether it's financial education. All education is what helps empower us and equip us to keep evolving.
Yeah, sure. True. Yeah.
And so it's not that, but what I think is a little bit unique, say, about money is it's something we all use every day throughout the day to trade, to earn. It's a constant going on kind of a thing. So I think you would be well advised, whether it's coming from home or coming from school or a community organization, for somebody to say, that's a skill you need to get pretty good at.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you.
Because you're going to be using it a lot.
Oh, true. No, I'm glad you said that it's a skill because because recently I was in the financial service space. I was working with American Express, so definitely get to meet some interesting clients, interesting folks who are managing a lot of money, and then of course there are people too who also mismanage as well, and especially even also. I remember my time, I think just right after 2008, the financial meltdown and stuff. And I'm just like, when I met some folks, whose 401k became 1k. And I know, but it was because it was just it was a crazy thing, but it was a great reminder about how they manage the money, where they're putting their money in, is in the right place or whatever, or are they taking the right advice, or how to use proper judgment. And I'm just like, okay, some folks, I understand they took calculated risk, but others, when I listen to I'm like, what were you smoking on? Man, let me have so.
Okay.
But
that's a really fair question. Let me give you a little perspective related to that. Look, I think 98% of us. Okay, for the first thing to know is look, for most of us, we're not Warren Buffett. Okay, so let's first get that clear. Okay, now number two is we should take what I'll call calculated risk, and in my mind, calculated risk is. You should be invested in maybe the global index 500. That's it. Okay. So now, or maybe the standard. Now, so here's why I say that. You brought up the banking crisis, all right, and the 401k.
Yeah.
So back then, now I'm not up on this today. You probably are, but let's say I think the S&P 500 going into the banking crisis was maybe around 12,000. It went down to, let's say, 9,000. Now, today, are we at 30,000? Where are we at?
Oh, I forgot. I think way higher than that. I barely keep up.
Okay. So that's my point. Okay, maybe it should have went, instead of 401k, it went to 301k, but now it'd be at the 9,000.
Gotcha.
This is in 12 years. It's okay. But when you think about, say, the S&P 500 or the global 500, these are the best companies in the world.
Gotcha. Yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay. These are the best companies in the world. They're not. So look, you're never doing that. You're never going to probably become Steve Jobs, okay? But what you're going to do is you're going to be very financially secure.
Sure.
And you know what? And you're going to avoid probably huge mistakes. Now, I will say, look, when it went down, say from 12,000 to 9,000 is a 33 or 25%. That that's a pretty big dip.
Sure.
But you're in a big kind of a boat, so to speak. It can handle a large dip and recover. But now if you're in like some little small Bitcoin thing or artificial intelligence, okay, that could wipe you out.
Sure. True. Yeah, it does. Yeah. I mean, even though I remember the IT boom stuff. Oh yeah, I remember some of my professors talked about it.
Okay. Well, look again. See, this is to me what you have to know yourself. That is very tricky. Okay. Say if you were in Apple, you're going to do great, all right? But we don't know. Apple almost went out of business. Bill Gates had to save Apple,
right?
And now Apple is now Apple's bigger than Microsoft.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen very often. But if you're in one of these big, the best indexes of the best companies, you're not going to have as wide a volatility,
sure.
Right? So for the average person, and most of us are average, okay? We're not, again, we're not studying this all day. And even if we were, you could still make mistakes. Even the best stock pickers are not that good, as it turns out. Okay?
Right.
They're not Warren Buffett, okay?
Yeah. No, they don't have like teams of people though.
Okay, there you go. Yes, there you go. And so, I mean, there's a lot of studies that show like 80% of them, they don't beat the average. Why are you taking that risk?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't really make sense. Now, let me say, when you get into certain, say, higher levels of position, you can now more reasonably, rationally take a little bit more, maybe, of that kind of risk, because you're not jeopardizing everything. But if your whole 401k turned into a 1k, you probably were not doing something fundamentally sound.
Yeah. No, sure. Yeah. I know. Yeah, that's. Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah, but I think end of the day, like I guess when it comes to savings and stuff, I think end of the day it's all about us, right? How and stuff. Because I know some people, they just how do you say, outsource the managing to maybe somebody else or whatever. I mean, I know a lot of people do that, obviously, which makes sense, you would expect that, but I think it's also important that, like, when it comes to all this retirement stuff, or any financial product apparatus, I think you gotta have, enough knowledge, like, okay, it's a good idea. Oh, wait a minute, this one I'm kind of doubting. I need to, step back. So,
yes. Absolutely. Okay. The more knowledge and informed you get on anything, the better you're going to do. Okay. So I think you're exactly, right about that. And then I also think it goes back to this idea, I'll call it related to goals, whether it's retirement or whatever it is, the more clear, not like saying retirement. Okay. I want to retire. Okay. But now you got to start getting more specific. I want to retire by age 50. I want to retire with 50,000 of income a year, or whatever it is. The more specific, and what you keep doing, I think, what you want to do is keep refining and getting more clear and learning. So then you can start making more informed judgments, like what it is you're describing, related to your specific plan. You got to block out, oh, this is what Marcus is doing. Well, let me just say, is Marcus's plan the same as my plan? If it is, beautiful. But if it isn't, then I don't know what his plan is. Sure. So we might view risk differently. We might want to retire at different ages. Okay, so there's a lot of there's so many variables. What's important is you nail down your plan, your goals, and then start attacking them. All right.
Yeah. True. No. Those are absolutely wise words. I mean, for all of us to really take note. I mean, it's simple, but it's time tested. So. Those there's certain those are two great words, time tested. So the basic foundational ideas and strategies, they really haven't changed throughout time, whether we were trading seashells or whether we're going to be trading Bitcoin. Now there are nuances related to that stuff, but these basic
And those are not rocket science. But then what you have to do, what part of what doesn't make it easy, I call it the system or the noise. And it's like a video game when they're throwing, here's an intergalactic attack.
Yeah.
They start, oh, guess what? Guess what? I can get you a 25% return. Or it's your neighbor is telling you something, or somebody, and it's okay, like, okay, for talking, oh, that's interesting. And then, you need to evaluate it against your plan, what you're trying to do and what your values are, or 98% of it, I just try and block it out.
Oh, good points. Good points.
Well, here's another thing that I think is really important, and this is something we want to train our kids to do. We want to train our adults is to keep trying to figure out what is the right question to ask. What is the right question to ask?
Truly said.
And so, what's interesting to me a lot of time, this happens in America a lot on the quote unquote, I'll call it news, because usually it's not news. Usually it's not news, it's opinions, all right? But they'll try and bring your attention to a certain place. But then they don't ask a lot of time, like, in my mind, well, let's presume that they're right, that this is an issue we should pay attention to. First off, I don't know if it is or it isn't. I think that's the first question. Just because you tell me and you're on the news doesn't mean that's what I should be paying attention to. They've made that decision for their reasons. Okay, their reasons may not be my reasons. So the first thing I think is this what we should be paying attention to? Then, if it is, what is the next question I should be asking? Here's something that people don't. I think this is hard to say or speculate on, but often we're not paying attention to the right thing. So what we're giving up our time and our energy.
Oh,
that's the price.
True.
Often. Okay, so we're chasing the wrong issues.
Yeah.
And so but that's thinking. Okay, Marcus, is like it's about the questions and trying to figure out what are the priorities are. So like when you look at money, for example, how much money do I today? September 20th. Is it still September 20th in Dubai?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is September 20th. Yeah.
Okay. So today, let's say, where am I at? How much money or assets do I have? How much is coming in? How much is going out? And how much do I want to have in 1 year? Okay, so those are like some basic questions you should probably be asking yourself all the time. Mm-hmm. All right. Oh, and then once you start doing it, how am I doing? Am I on track or not on track? Do I need to make adjustments? Sometimes people call this like budgeting. you might, to me, it's like I laugh sometimes because like budgets have a bad connotation. I'm like, they don't if you like having success with money.
Right. Yeah. True. Yeah. True. Yeah.
It's like almost everyone. It goes back to the recipe. Whether it's a company or an individual, almost everyone I know who is having success with money usually has some form of a budget. Mm-hmm. Okay, call it if you want. Call it if it makes you feel better. Call it a spending plan. Call it this. Call it that. But they have that. They know where their money's coming from. They know where it's going. They usually have a goal. So there's some tracking and measurement to it. It has those features. Often it's called the budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. That's all semantics, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes that's like, oh no.
Yeah, I guess people have different upbringing, or they have I guess sort of some sort of like a psychological block towards certain words and stuff, which okay. I can understand.
Yes. Okay. Well. Yeah. Okay. I understand it. Okay. What I like to say is what they have feelings and attitudes and associations. All right. Yes, that's perfectly understandable. That's one part over here. But now here's this other part. Okay, what do you want? How are you going to achieve it? What's going to give you the best chance to achieve it? Often that has nothing to do with your feelings and your attitudes. It has to do with, what is the recipe? The first question, is there a recipe? Oh, there is. And let me say, here's some really great news. that recipe, like a lot of it may be the same, but there's different variations of it. So if you don't like, say, a lot of pepper in your soup, put less pepper. It's still soup. It's going to nourish you.
Right.
Okay. Right? If you like a little more spice, put a little more spice in there. But it's basically, you may need the water and the tomatoes or something like that. Okay, that's the saving, that's the spending, the budgeting. All right.
True.
But yeah, they have all these feelings and attitudes. We have to try and separate. I mean, people don't have. They can do whatever they want. But if you want to have more financial freedom or financial stability these are the ingredients that reliably, predictably produce those kinds of outcomes.
Gotcha.
Okay.
True.
Yeah. Once in a while, somebody wins the lottery or something like that. But that's not reliable. That's not predictable, and often it's not even sustainable. I mean, in terms of like they have it for one day or 1 year, but then they don't have it after that. It's like, oh, what happened?
That's interesting. I think the previous points, when he talked about asking the right questions and what questions do you need to ask to hit your goals and stuff. Because the two words that come to my mind is critical thinking. To be able to question the news, to be able to question the noise and stuff. And I do believe that's an important skill to have, especially in a young age.
Okay, okay. So those are magic words. Okay, now look. What I think at a young age is what you're trying to do is you're trying to develop critical thinking skills. I don't know if you're going to have critical thinking yet, but I think when you start saying what is the question we should be asking, questions are a part of the thinking process. So and it's part of the critical thinking process. So that's what you're starting to develop. This is where in my mind, these are the studies that are scary. Is that when you look at adults, maybe they have them, but they're not using these critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
They're using the feelings, the attitude, and that's a big reason why they're not producing the results.
Yeah. No, those are really powerful thoughts. Yeah.
So you're in my mind, that critical thinking, to me, I think that's one of the big problems right now with education. All right, is that they've lost, in my mind, some of the focus that what education, public education, is supposed to do. First and foremost, in my mind, is develop critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
So I think you're right on the money. That's got to be, in my mind, that's got to be the highest priority. Yes, we need to do these other things, but they are of a lower priority.
Yeah. That's interesting when you talk about public education. I guess you're talking about in the U.S., but it's also
similar. I'm only talking about the US.
Yeah. No, but I just wanted to actually reiterate the point where you talk about public education, but not just US, but also it's also happening in India as well. Like I happened to look into some research maybe like a month ago, and financial education is it's almost, you can say it's absent, in many ways. So and one of the things, unfortunately, also in India too. And also, I also studied in an Indian school too as a kid. So critical thinking or asking the right questions hasn't been instilled in us. I mean, this is something we maybe learn from our parents, or some other mentors, but generally we just regurgitate a lot of information and a lot of, not that, I mean, personally for me, it was kind of useless information. I'm just like, what? But the need for having the right to be able to ask the right questions and what are the steps to hit my financial success or goals or whatever it may be. I mean, it is pretty much absent. So yeah, I just wanted to share with you, hey, it's also India's also is, I would say, I guess at one point of view, it's kind of bad, but on the other side, it's a great opportunity to, talk about financial education, wellness, empowerment, financial excellence too, if you want to throw that out there. So, yeah. But yeah, because I remember you have worked with maybe instructors or parents on not in the U.S. but also other parts of the world too, right?
Yes, we've done programs in, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9, 10 countries now. And so, look, there are some cultural differences, but these time-tested principles, it's not a cultural issue. These are principles.
Sure. Yeah, right. Yeah.
and what they are is they're basically they're principles about how you manage limited resources. Whatever that could be time, or it could be money. It could be other things. Okay.
Yeah.
So in general, let me say, if you can master those basic principles, you could then fit them into the situations and then layer on cultural thinking or come up with specific strategies that address cultural differences. But some cultures save better than others, but that's going to be a great behavior across the board. Now, let me just say this. I talk a lot about saving because our main focus is kids and getting the right foundation in. I think adults need to do it also, but adults need to invest also. So it's not just all saving,
right.
But when you're talking about kids, you're going to start with saving, even from a financial standpoint. But as I mentioned earlier, that whole delayed gratification, you want to start teaching that along with these critical thinking behavior skills as well. Here's something I would share with you. My thought is, I know that financial literacy by and large is not being implemented in schools. It's happening more, but still there's a big vacancy, so to speak. But I do think if we were doing a better job teaching critical thinking skills, that's going to make people better financial money managers. Okay, because a lot of basic financial literacy is just common sense, critical thinking. All right, it's not specific necessarily. When you start getting to more advanced levels, that critical thinking is still going to pay off, but then there might be special situations. Do you need a trust, or do you need more real estate than this or that,
okay,
or whatever it is? But at the basic level, if you're able to ask the right questions, you can apply that in any situation. Your health situation with your doctor, your food situation in eating, your exercise situation, your money situation. That foundation is going to help you. It's transferable and applicable in just about every area.
That's interesting. Yeah. Actually, I just wanted to finish it off. We were talking about financial literacy. So let's talk about your books. Your books, specifically talking about, you talk about saving. So say a parent, whether in the States or in India or here in Dubai, they want to present their kids with books on saving money. I think which every parent would love their kids to do. Please do share your.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you for asking that.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so let me reiterate what I said earlier. The way we look at education, it's a process. It's ongoing. We would love for parents to use some of our Sammy Rabbit resources as part of their education with their kids. They might use other resources as well, but sure, use Sammy the Rabbit. We have 2 storybooks. One's called It's a Habit, Sammy Rabbit.
Okay.
That's for younger kids, maybe like ages 5 or 6. Children love stories. And in that book, the main point is to make a habit of saving. That's It's a Habit, Sammy Rabbit. Then for kids maybe 7, 8, 9, 10, we have Sammy's Big Dream. And Sammy's Big Dream is kind of like the Elon Musk Big Dream. He wants to ride a roller coaster in outer space. but it's going to cost $300. And so his parents tell him, if you can save and earn half the money, we'll match it with the other half. So it has a saving and earning and also like a dream goal message. And so kids love that. They love both of those stories.
Yeah.
Then for younger kids, say 3, 4, and 5, we don't have storybooks, but we have activity books.
Okay.
And in the activity books, they can write and color little sayings like, I like to save, or save your pennies, save your nickels. I like to give wise. I spend smart, short sayings. So it introduces them to the words and then short phrases that kind of give them a concept, a principle. They can trace them, they can write them, they can color them. So they begin to get familiar. They don't have to be able to repeat everything back to you, a memorization. You just start getting familiar with the language. You know, every subject matter seems to have its own language. Sports, computers,
True.
Money's the same way. So you just start getting familiar with the words, and then you just keep layering on it. Now, in addition to those, we have a lot of music. And
nice.
I'm going to share with you, this is one of our key songs. We have a lot of them, but this one's called "Get in the Habit."
Let's do it. Yeah.
Let's learn the. Okay. So here's what we teach. We teach kids the chorus. Follow me.
Okay, I'll follow you. I'll sing
like
along.
this.
All right, I'll sing along.
You say get. We're just going to speak it. Get in the
Get
habit.
in the habit.
Okay. So this is a habit. So it's something we do over and over. Get in the habit. Like Sammy Rabbit.
Okay, so this. Okay, all right. Okay. Get in the habit, Sammy Rabbit. Okay, all right. Okay, let's do that.
Saving money. All the time. You can do it.
You can do it. All right. Oh, the thumb. Oh.
Now let.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs
Oh,
up.
gotcha. Okay, gotcha. Okay,
it.
thumbs up. Okay.
You can, or you can go like this. You can
do it. Okay.
Pointing at
okay.
Now let's get to it.
Let's get to it. Okay.
Now this is geared to the U.S. From every dollar, save a dime. That's 10.
Save a dime. All right. Okay.
Okay, that's the chorus.
All right. Okay. Let's do that.
We've sang that song all over the world. The parents out there or the teachers, they can find those storybooks, that song on our website, SammyRabbit.com,
Nice.
SammyRabbit.com, SammyRabbit.com. Then we have lots of other activities.
Awesome. Yeah, sure.
We found stories and songs are a great way to get the conversation going.
Sure. No, definitely. All the links will be in the podcast as well as on the YouTube channel. So definitely, friends need to get their hands on your resources. I think it's going to be fun. It's easy. They're going to have a great time.
Yeah, it's fun. It's easy. It's fun. It's easy, and it's powerful. You know what? If a kid gets in the habit of saving when they're young, that's going to transform their life and their relationship with money. Right. So that's a very powerful but fun way to teach that idea.
All right. Okay. So let's do one song and end this off the right way.
Okay. Let me see if I can find it on my phone.
Okay.
Here. I think I had it up here. Yeah. They don't let me sing the songs. I'm a bad singer. But I will teach. But what they do let me do is teach you the lyrics.
All right. Okay.
Here I found it. I'll put it next. I'm playing this on my phone. I'm going to put it next to the speaker here. Let's see if we can hear it. Uh-oh. Started in the middle. Here we go. Can you hear it?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Now we go. Get in the
habit. Sammy.
Like Sammy Rabbit. Saving money.
Money.
All the time. You can do it. Now start clapping again. Okay. There you go, Marcus.
Yeah. All right. Love it. Love it.
Okay, so they'll find that on our website. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
And thank you for the wonderful work you're doing. It's inspiring.
Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. No, definitely. Now learning about your origin story, how you got into financial education, and just teaching kids some important critical thinking skills and just learning great values. Now I'm thinking, you know what? I think I need to write a children's book on Bitcoin. Why not a children's book on crypto? Get them right, but learn the right principles. That's what's important. I mean, it's been there for 5,000 years. It's going to continue now. The right approach. I think.
Yes.
It's definitely it's inspiring to check your work out. And what, a lot of parents should be getting a hands on. So definitely one thing for sure, I'll be supporting your stuff all the way through. And it's going to be fun, easy, and it's going to be a powerful message for a lot of people.
Thank you so much. That would be so awesome.
Yeah. But anyways, we gotta go. Fam, y'all be good. Y'all be safe. We will talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Bye for now.